For years, I've wanted to design my own miniature wind turbine. Something about them is just so mesmerizing and practical. They give you the ability to generate power from anywhere, and living in Boston, there's plenty of free power blowing around. Most small wind turbines are very basic, featuring fixed pitch blades and tails to automatically orient them into the wind. But I want to do something different. I know it's overkill, but I want to add extra features that full-size wind turbines have. That means adding variable pitch blades, powered base rotation, an onboard wind measuring station, plus a fully custom control board with power regulation, sensing, and motor drivers on board, and of course, lots of code to control everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First things first, I need to design the turbine. Once again, I'll be using Onshape for this project, and actually all projects going forwards. More on that later, but I'd highly recommend you and your business check out Onshape using my link in the description. And after completing my first rough design, I printed one of the blades just to get an idea of the size. It was disappointing, so I doubled it and used carbon fiber rods to connect each half of the blade. Much better. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be wondering why wind turbines are so thin and use airfoils. Wouldn't something like these old turbines capture much more wind? Well, yes, but no. There's a great Minute Physics episode I'll link below explaining why the 3-blade design is more efficient. But why airfoils? Well, for that you need to consider that the blades, as they spin faster, change the incoming air direction. This is a cross-section of the blade. When the turbine's stationary, the wind comes head-on, pushes against the blade, and generates a force in this direction, causing it to spin. As the blade spins though, that incoming air direction is going to change. And as the wind angle approaches the angle of the blade, the force it generates is going to decay, which is bad. This is also why blades twist, since the velocity at the tip of the blade is going to be much higher than the root. But why airfoils? Well, the air comes in, hits the airfoil, which does 3 things. It'll generate high pressure on this side, low pressure on this side, and lift along this vector. And this lift force opposes rotate? No, that's not right. Yeah, it was at this point that I realized, well after completing the rest of the filming for this project, that my airfoil was upside down. This is effectively the same as flying a plane upside down. It'll work, just not very well. So you guys get some bonus content. I'll run CFD in a little bit to see what difference this actually makes. Back to the blade design. As I was saying, the incoming air will create high pressure on this side, low pressure on this side, generate lift in this direction, and that lift force helps to spin the blades even faster. The end result is a much more efficient blade than using the old school giant fat blade design. So now you're probably getting an idea of why large wind turbines adjust their blade pitch. Airfoils have an optimal angle of attack, and this can only be achieved in variable wind conditions by adjusting the pitch of the blades to match. I'll dive into those control specifics a little bit later. To demonstrate this concept, I've imported my turbine blade into SimScale. I ran the simulation at a few different air speeds and blade speeds. Calculating the actual blade speed based on airspeed is really difficult, so I just picked some random best guess values to test things. Also, each blade in this turbine is actually at a different pitch to demonstrate how the different blade angles perform in different conditions. Now, purely looking at the pressure, you can see there's a bit of a difference on the correct versus upside down airfoil, but it's not a hugely apparent difference. That is, until you look at the cross-section of the air velocity. The bad airfoil actually speeds up the air along the edges here, wasting a lot of energy. It also doesn't slow down the air quite as much. The good airfoil has much less wasted extra energy and slows down the air even more. Now, I'm not an aero engineer, so I'm not really sure how to optimize this design any further. At least the flow simulations look pretty cool. So now knowing why blade pitch is important, it's time to go over my pitch mechanism. I went with as simple as a design as I could, but it's me, so it's still pretty overcomplicated. The blades are mounted in bearings using C-clips to retain them. Each blade has a small socket head screw in the end of it, and that's going to be used to control the angle of the blade. The screw head sits in a groove in a plastic piece, and when you move that plastic piece forward and back, it's going to adjust the pitch of the blades. Now I just need a way to drive it. So for that, I added a rod which passes through into the turbine body, then a carriage that's on a linear guide, which is driven by a tiny geared DC motor and a lead screw-ish setup, and that's that. I will need some way to sense the position of this, so for that I'm using the same 3-axis Hall sensor that I actually used in my magnetic levitation project. This can precisely measure the change in magnetic field direction as the collective moves. Unfortunately, the assembly of this was nearly impossible, so I redesigned it twice. Progress. Next up, it's time to get the electronics working. I designed a motherboard using my MUB for processing, some components to rectify and regulate power generation, lots of sensing, and some other stuff all on this single board. And a few days later, it arrived. Thank you to PCBWay for providing the boards and stencil for this project, and for sponsoring this portion of the video. Assembly went rather smoothly. Ignore this bit. Ignore this too. And with that done, first I'm going to test the power rectification side. Unfortunately, it just was not working right. The output here should be 12 volts, not 4 point something. So, taking a step back, I'm generating power using a NEMA 17 stepper motor. When you backdrive a stepper like this, it generates a fairly high AC voltage signal on each of the two coils. So all you need to do to convert this into usable power, by that I mean DC, is rectify it and regulate it. So first the signal goes through a bridge rectifier to flip any negative voltage to the positive side, then it goes through a pretty large capacitor to smooth things out, and finally through a switching regulator to step down and smooth out the voltage even more. After checking a few things, I found that the regulator is my problem. I followed the datasheet, but for whatever reason this chip just is not behaving as I expect. As a quick sanity check, I took an off-the-shelf regulator, and that worked fine. It's just not going to fit in my turbine. So I'm going to get creative. As I said before, the motherboard's using my MUB for the brains. Now the MUB has an onboard 5 volt 3 amp switching regulator. I'm sure you can see where this is going, so I made some fairly aggressive reworks to route the power from the rectifier into the MUB using that onboard 5 volt regulator, and also adding some Zener diodes on the input just to protect my MUB in case the voltage incoming ever exceeds the rating of this regulator. And somehow it works great. Now I just have a 5 volt out instead of 12, which is fine. Next, testing the motor drives. These drivers are going to be used to power the pitch and the yaw mechanisms. Ignore this part too. Okay, working great. One final thing to test, all of the Hall sensors. Now these were quite a pain to lay out. The 3-axis Hall sensors I'm using are fairly basic chips that communicate over I2C. They're assigned one of two addresses based on the voltage of the SDA line, which they share, as they boot up. So you could solve this by adding some components to control when each chip boots, or, thanks to a tip from a coworker, why not just power the chips straight off the GPIO lines of the controller? These sensors just draw a few milliamps each, so it should be fine. And I did that, and it worked. Great. So now I had the two 3-axis Hall sensors, and then one more super small but simple Hall switch, which I'm using for the anemometer. Now it's time to install the motherboard into the housing and test the full sub-assemblies. The weather vane was working great, but the anemometer was not. Turns out the C-clip I used to retain it was messing with the Hall signal, so I just got rid of that, and now all the sensing is working great. So next I want to finish the collective assembly. Pro tip here, don't let linear bearings fall off the rail. Fixing them is a pain at best. But yeah, this is a mistake most engineers only make once. It's not the smoothest, but it's working pretty well. So next up, finishing the base assembly. For this, I went with a worm gear design, because I want torque over rotation speed, and also I want it to hold its position while it's not powered. But my worm gear assembly had so much run out here that it's just not having it. I could just install the gear straighter, but that's too easy, so instead I redesigned the whole mechanism to include a spring, and that solves that. I've also included a slip ring in the base, which is going to be used to transfer power out, and now it's time for some real world testing. And by that I mean artificial testing in my apartment, because the outside is scary, and people are probably going to judge me. So first I'll just do a basic systems test. Yaw motion, good. Blade pitch, yep. Anemometer and wind vane readings, check. Alright. So let's get things moving. Now to test this turbine, I'm gonna actually revive an old control board from the early days of my channel, because last I checked, there's no wind in my apartment. Oh, go figure. And after spinning up the blades to actually not all that fast, I gave the collective a test. Although surprisingly, maxing out the blade pitch resulted in enough load that the motor stalled out, so I bumped up the current a little on the controller. Now it's doing fine. Now just for good measure, I'll give the base rotary a test as well. So at this point, everything seems to work. Let me just finish up the code, test that the weather vane directs the blades properly. Test that changing wind speeds will change the collective. Now note that this is not the right way to control the collective. Ideally, you want to sense the velocity of the blades relative to the incoming wind speed and use that to calculate the angle. But since I don't have sensing on my turbine velocity, I'm just going to go with this for now. Okay, and we're all set for an actual real-world test. Today's weather is showing 13-mile-an-hour winds blowing from west-northwest with gusts up to 28 miles an hour. So I climbed up a hill and let it go. The turbine spun up pretty quick and easily, but even at a fairly fast speed, it doesn't seem to be booting up the controller. And checking the output voltage, yeah, so I saw it flutter around 1 to 2 volts, but never hit 5 volts. It should. This just means that the voltage coming from the motor isn't exceeding the 7 volts it needs to let the regulator function properly. This is definitely disappointing because it means I need a higher gear ratio to generate more voltage, but that involves a whole redesign. So for now, I'm gonna cheat and power the control board separately. And from here, the turbine performed great. The weather station accurately measured the wind speed and direction, the adjustment motors did what they did, rotated the base as needed, and the collective worked too. Although for most of these tests, I just set it to maintain a fixed pitch since the wind speeds were varying so much. So overall, I'd say this is a success. I have a number of ideas to improve performance, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but the turbine functioned as it should. It just kind of needs to generate some more power. Before wrapping things up, I want to take a moment to talk about Onshape. I'm very excited to announce that I've decided to use Onshape for all projects going forward. I've used Onshape on and off for years, but lately I've used it much more frequently, and I've been blown away with how powerful, versatile, and easy to use it is. Onshape has every feature I need, and yet they're constantly adding more. Designing all my future projects in Onshape will ensure not only I have what I need to effectively design these projects, but it'll also make the CAD much more accessible to all of you, since Onshape is free to use for individuals and browser-based, so you can access it anywhere. I hope you're excited as I am to see what we can create together in 2023. Now, what's next? Well, I don't plan on redesigning this to make a V2, but if you would like to see one, let me know in the comments, and also let me know what else you want to see in this. But if I were, my biggest improvements I'd focus on are bigger detachable wind blades for more power and easier storage in my apartment, turbine speed sensing to optimize the collective angle better, power output sensing for analytics and auto optimization, better cable management because it kinda sucks right now, and finally an onboard battery so that it can keep running for a bit even if there's a gap in the wind. Anyway, that's all for this video. Thank you to all my supporters on Patreon for helping make this video possible. My next project might be familiar to some of you, just turned up to 11, so subscribe so you don't miss it. Until next time.